What up, YouTube? How you guys doing today? Today I got another great book for you. It's called Outliers, The Story of Success. So this is a book by Malcolm Gladwell. It's very popular, and we'll get into the main ideas of the book and talk about 3 action steps that you can take to apply the book to your life. So what is the core concept of this book? It is the idea that small advantages lead to major success. Small advantages or often lead to major success. So what Malcolm Gladwell found was that kids who were in their grade, but like the older individuals in their grade, like the ones who were born, right before the cutoff date, they're older, right? So they tended to be a little bigger than their peers. They tended to be a little, just a little more mature in brain development. So they tended to be a little smarter. And what they found was that arbitrary cutoff date, right? It wasn't anything that they had to do in order to be older than their peers, right? It was just luck that they were born at that age, right? But what they found is that small advantages of being like the older one in their grade, right? Like the older individual in their hockey league or the older individual, even if it's just by a few months, what they found is that small advantage led to major results as the years went by. Why? There's this theory, let's get into the theory now. There's this theory called accumulative advantage by sociologists, right? So it's simply the idea that being in the right place at the right time, having that small initial advantage that you didn't do anything to earn, right? Having that small initial advantage accumulates, right? Think about like kids who are a little older, therefore their brains are a little bit more developed, therefore they do a little bit better on tests, right? That kid who does a little better on tests because he's older is more likely to be put into the advanced group, right? Like the advanced classes. And that advantage starts to snowball, right? Okay, so now he's in advanced classes, so he's going to have to keep up with the accelerated pace, right? And then now he's in a pattern of overachievement. So now that pattern of overachievement and that self-identity of the kid thinking, oh, I am smarter than the rest of the group, tends to snowball and influence, and the effects just have greater effects, and that's how it goes. The advantage accumulates over time. So that's the basic idea, but so what they found with, like, say, professional hockey league players or professional baseball players, that they tended to be the older kids in their little league baseball team. So they were always the little bit bigger, they were like 6 months older than the youngest player, so they were a little bit bigger, a little bit more developed, and that got them into the better spots. It got the coaches more interested in the better players, right? So all of that stuff just accumulates over time. So small advantages equal major success, and these advantages are utterly arbitrary, right? It's luck, basically, right? But these advantages accumulate. So they looked at the top of every field, and while luck has a lot to do with it, Malcolm Gladwell also talks about the 10,000 hour rule. So the 10,000 hour rule is the average number of hours that an individual needs to put into his craft to become the best at his field. So what does that mean? Does that mean anyone can work 10,000 hours and suddenly be the best at their field? No. Talent has a little bit to do with it, right? But hard work and passion are just as important as talent, if not more important. They're actually twice as important as talent. So that's the equation that I kind of put up. Passion plus talent plus hard work plus a little bit of luck, like that initial advantage, just being a little older. All of those 4 qualities end up leading to major success or being an outlier in your field. One of the best of the best. So that's this notion of 10,000 hours. So let me talk about talent a little bit, right? So what they found for Nobel Prize winners, right, that IQ had after a certain level of intelligence, IQ had no correlation between an individual winning a Nobel Prize and an individual not winning a Nobel Prize. So, individuals below the IQ of 120 were less likely to win a Nobel Prize. But once you're 120 IQ or above, there's no correlation between, having a 170 IQ and winning a Nobel Prize or having a 125 IQ and winning a Nobel Prize. It's kind of like basketball, right? If you're a certain height, if you're my size and you're going into an NBA, you're going to get crushed, right? Because you're just not as tall as everyone else. But once you hit a certain height, for the most part, you are good enough or you are tall enough to be competitive in that league. So say you're like 6'5", well that's probably the cutoff to be an NBA player. Although they do have NBA players that are shorter and taller, but that's the general truth. The taller you are, the more once you hit a cutoff point, that correlation between NBA player and height, right? A 7'5" person is not going to be more likely to be an NBA player than a 6'9" person, right? Because they're both tall, and other qualities play into that role. Similarly with Nobel Prizers, you gotta have passion, you gotta work hard, and you gotta have a little bit of luck if you're gonna win the Nobel Peace Prize, right? So, so that's the basic idea of outliers. Malcolm Gladwell is basically trying to find out why certain communities, certain individuals are outliers, why they are, exceptional for whatever reason, right? Whether they're exceptionally healthy, whether they're exceptionally good at their craft, whether they're exceptionally bad, criminals and stuff like that, right? So small advantages or small disadvantages lead to major success or major failure. So that's why certain individuals are outliers. It's called the Matthew effect, right? In the Bible, there's this quote that says, "To he who has much, more shall be given. To he who has little, everything shall be taken away." It's something along those lines. And what that essentially means is, it's the positive feedback loop. The more you have, the more likely you are to get more, right? So, that's the general theory and core concept of outliers. And let's get into the action steps. The first action step that you can take is to make your own luck, right? Listen to your intuition, follow your passions, and ask yourself, what do I have a small advantage in, right? What advantages do I have that I can use to accumulate? So let me just give you myself, for example. I've always been a little smarter than everyone else, right? So I ask myself, like, what do I love to do? What am I good at? And what will the world actually need from me, right? And those small advantages that I have, if I put in the work, put in my 10,000 hours, those small advantages tend to snowball and feed off each other and get stronger over time. So that's one thing. Number two is look at your culture, both the good aspects and the bad aspects. So the good qualities of your culture, you want to emulate those ideas because, in the beginning of Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell talks about the city of Roseto in the middle of America, right? In America, a lot of people are unhealthy, and they found that these individuals in Roseto ate similar things to most Americans, right? But they had less heart disease, they lived longer, they were more healthy, and what they found, or what they think is the reason, is that they have a really tight-knit community, right? A really strong social safety net. So look at your culture, right? That has an influence. The energy of the people you're around and the ideas that you're around. Emulate the good parts of your culture and disregard the unhealthy aspects of your culture. So always be aware of what the ideas of your culture are, what the practices, what the norms, the social norms are, and act accordingly. And finally, tiny habits. That's an action step that you need to take in order to be successful, right? Small advantages, major success. So you want to give yourself every little advantage that you can have. So eat healthy, sleep right, and use those tiny habits, like waking up happy in the morning, like with gratitude, right? That's a tiny habit. It takes 2 minutes a day to wake up grateful in the morning. But that has a snowball effect if you do it day after day. And it influences the quality of your day too, right? Happier people are more creative, more productive, more happy. So it has an influence on your success, whether that's work success or spiritual success, right? So that's the basic idea of this book. Small advantages, major success. The idea is called accumulative advantages. Advantages accumulate over time and space. 10,000 hours is the average that an individual needs to become an expert in his field. Passion plus talent plus work plus a little bit of luck. That's what creates success in every field. And then you have my 3 action steps. So that's all I have for today. Have a good one, guys.